They bring in anchors who are howling, who are shouting, who are frothing at the mouth, and then they, as if they want to, and they use the terms dismantle Pakistan, eliminate Pakistan, nuke Pakistan. So this kind of language is borderline hate speech. It would be illegal in any civilized country, but that is used in media channels, on mainstream media channels against a neighboring country. Conversely, we don't do that.
Thank you, Mushahid, for joining us. Given the recent missile exchange, targeting military installation on both sides, how do you assess the strategic objectives behind India's Operation Sindoor and Pakistan's Operation Banyan al-Marus? What messages do you think both the nations are trying to send?
First of all, let me correct you that the military targeting was not from both sides. India initially targeted only civilian population in the round one, while our focus has been entirely military targets or perhaps other strategic installations, but not linked to the civilian population. When the Indians hit, they hit the civilian population, they hit mosques and madrasas also, and killed about 31 civilians and about 50 were injured. So I think that should be very clear. And there's a tried, tested, and failed formula from the Indian side. Whenever there is an event or an incident in Indian-occupied Kashmir, their proclivity is to blame Pakistan without evidence, and the blame comes almost instantaneously, as if on cue. And then that is orchestrated through the media, then is orchestrated through their propaganda machine, and then they try to bully and browbeat Pakistan, sometimes threatening Pakistan, and sometimes trying to carry out the threat, as they did last time in Pulwama, when we also hit back very hard after their aggression against Pakistan in February 2019. We shot down their 2 planes, captured their pilot, and then returned him honorably. And this time also, first there were the threats, again without evidence, and then they tried to have this punitive measures against Pakistan just because they feel size equals strength. And we have demonstrated that size does not equal strength. And we have shown the capacity, the will, the determination, and the intention to hit back in good measure, their tit for our tat, and our tat for their tit. So we are very clear, and we've done that. And I think we got the better of the Indians in round one when we shot down 5 of their planes, which is the biggest loss of the Indian Air Force since 1971 in one day. Secondly, we also hit them very hard on the 10th of May when they did the same. And so we have taken the war to the Indian heartland, to Delhi, to different places. And of course, the focus is on military and other strategic targets.
Sir, you mentioned that India instantly blames Pakistan, and this time they did it without any investigation and without any proof. We've also seen, the world asking, kind of like backing Pakistan's demand of an investigation. But my question is, how much of a role do you think that the Indian media plays when it comes to warmongering? Just the other night, we saw Indian media kind of invented an invasion into Pakistan. Is it the Indian media driving hostility from the government, forcing the government to act? Or do you think it's the government driving this narrative of hate and war with Pakistan?
That reminds me of this famous saying, whether it's the dog which is wagging or the tail wagging the dog. So I think that, in my view, this is this outrage, this media frenzy, this war hysteria is frankly created and orchestrated Bollywood style by the Indian security and political establishment, particularly under Mr. Narendra Modi, who has been in power since 2014. And they've been pretty good at that because, as if on cue, they already have this animus and this bigoted approach towards Pakistan based on an ideological agenda of the RSS, which is the ruling party of India. And RSS, as you know, is a fascist organization which was created 100 years ago in 1925, inspired by European fascism. And European fascism was based on hatred for the Jews. RSS is based on hatred for the Muslims. So they are the ones who do that, and they bring in so-called experts. They bring in anchors who are howling, who are shouting, who are frothing at the mouth, and then they, as if they want to, and they use the terms dismantle Pakistan, eliminate Pakistan, nuke Pakistan. Now, this kind of language is borderline hate speech. It would be illegal in any civilized country, but that is used in media channels, on mainstream media channels against a neighboring country. Conversely, we don't do that. So there is a qualitative difference between the reaction of the Indian media and the Pakistan media. But in response to your question, yes, I feel that the media acts as an adjunct arm of the Indian propaganda machinery. And in fact, I've always maintained that Bollywood is the unofficial ministry of propaganda of India, because soon after that, there'll be movies on that. It's not ending there. So it's sustained in the popular imagination, that view of the enemy. And then they also conjure up a lot of imaginary victories, that this is what we did. And as you mentioned also that I think on 9th of May, they had claimed to wipe out Pakistan, eliminating Karachi and Lahore and that sort of thing. So it's funny at times, but since it's wartime, so it's the humor can only be taken thus far.
No, definitely. Operation Sindoor has already been trademarked for a Bollywood movie.
And let me add, you mentioned Operation Sindoor. Yeah. Even the name of Operation Sindoor has certain connotations which are based on evoking an imagery of religious, I would say at times even fanaticism, to appease the Hindutva crowd. I'm sorry to say, because that's a pretty religious imagery, and I don't want to go further into that, but unfortunately that is used to stoke up that fanaticism against Muslims in Pakistan.
Definitely, and also misogyny. But yes, that's a whole, that's a whole different debate. So coming back to what's happening right now, with reports indicating that the use of advanced, drones and missile systems in the recent engagements between both the countries, how do you evaluate the impact of emerging technologies on the traditional balance of power between India and Pakistan? Because it's being said across the world now that this standoff between India and Pakistan is kind of turning into Chinese tech versus European tech, and kind of like a PR campaign for Chinese tech, because everyone's wondering, how is this possible?
I think there are two components to your question. Number one is the nature of the war this time around in 2025. Number one, neither side crossed each other's borders. The planes were in their respective domains and territories. There was no land forces involved. So planes in midair operating in their own territory, respectively, Pakistani planes in Pakistan, Indian planes in India, using missiles and sophisticated technology, electronic warfare and jamming devices. So that is a new element. So the wars are being fought from each other's territory inside their territory. Now that shows the nature of 21st century modern warfare. So welcome to the 21st century in terms of modern electronic warfare and technology. The second aspect is the one which you just alluded to, is this proxy war between Chinese technology and Western technology. Now, as we speak, there is the broader context of a emerging Cold War between the West, particularly the United States of America, and China over a host of issues. There's a trade war over economy, there is a political issues also, on diplomacy also. Americans call it the Indo-Pacific strategy, China has their own initiatives. But at the core of this looming confrontation is technology. Artificial intelligence, 5G, cloud computing, robotics, electronics, cybersecurity. And we are very fortunate that China is not only our neighbor, but our best friend for decades. And we have had access to the best that China does offer in military technology. And I'm referring specifically to the JF-17 Thunder planes and the J-10C, which we acquired just 2 or 3 years ago. And coming with that planes, because nobody gives us planes anymore from the West, as you know. So with that sophisticated technology, PL-15, that special missile, jamming devices, then M9Q, which is the ground-to-air missile of China, and which also shot down many drones. So this kind of technology was used by both sides. And to the bad luck of India, they had just acquired this fancy toys called Rafales, $300 a piece almost. And they brought them into service. But as they say, there's a man behind the machine or the woman behind the machine, whoever the pilot is. So in that, our pilots are very skilled at night flying and night combat. And we use the best of that to shoot down 3 of Rafale planes and 2 of the old Russian-made planes, Su-30 and MiG-29. So this now a Rafale plane being shot down is I mean it's a super sonic jet, and it's something which is a state of the art, and this has brought shockwaves that against Chinese technology they failed. Chinese technology was able to hone into them, was able to jam them. They had better missiles, the range was better, and so the Chinese equipment was better. So otherwise it would not have been tested. Otherwise it would be a theoretical discussion. And remember, people are looking at a lot of military analysts at confrontations between China and the West in the coming years, maybe over Taiwan or other issues, particularly the Americans, by the way. So I think that this conflict has drawn now a new kind of international attention, the role of Chinese technology vis-a-vis Western technology.
No, definitely. The global militaries are now studying, how the Rafales were shot down and how, Chinese, was able to do that. And in fact, one of the reasons India has faced a huge embarrassment because, nobody can believe that this was possible. This could even happen. So my next question is, so India attacked, India continued to, provoke Pakistan. Pakistan retaliated. In the wake of these escalations, what role do you see for international actors? Such as the United States, China, Saudi. We saw the Saudi foreign minister was here, the Iranian foreign minister was here, and then he went to India. Do you think there has been any effective diplomatic engagement to de-escalate the situation?
Let's take the position of the key international actor first, the United States of America. Initially, the US position was a detached position. President Trump on 25th of April said that I'm a very good friend of Pakistan, I'm a very good friend of India, and these two countries have been at loggerheads for decades, even said centuries, and it's over the Kashmir issue. So he mentioned the K word, which is music to our ears, but India was very upset. And then they said that, and I quote what he said on 25th of April, they will figure it out one way or the other, meaning he's left it to them. Then there was a statement of 8th of May from the Vice President, J.D. Vance. And Mr. Vance said that this is none of our business. So it was almost detached. And then after round 2 began, and mind you, they didn't take India's side, which is a good thing. They were, I think, cautiously neutral in between Pakistan and India. And then when we hit back to Indian aggression in round 2, then suddenly Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State of the US, got on the telephone, called the Army Chief, General Syed Asim Munir, and asking him for de-escalation and so forth. So suddenly they got into play. And I think one of the context of that, in my view, is also that President Trump is scheduled to visit the region, Middle East, on 13th of May onwards. He's going to Saudi Arabia, then he's going to Qatar, then he's going to United Arab Emirates, and he's going on apparently a peace mission on Ukraine and also on Palestine. So I think he was keen that before his arrival in the region, there should not be another hotspot or another flashpoint. And I think now they're actively involved. And we also have seen that Saudi Arabia, partly on its own initiative and partly prodded by the United States, Mr. Adil Jubair, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia, was also in Delhi and Islamabad, respectively. And then he had a telephone conversation with Mr. Marco Rubio. So I think that these actions are there. And then we also have the Turks, the European Union, and also the Iranians being active on that. But the key role is there of the United States. And of course, China and Russia have also said called for diffusion and de-escalation of the situation. But I feel that these efforts will bear fruit because the international community cannot afford escalation up the ladder, because that will have horrendous consequences, not just for the region, but globally as well.
Absolutely. So to wrap it up and looking ahead, what measures do you think both India and Pakistan can undertake to ensure long-term regional stability and prevent such escalations in the future? Do you foresee any viable confidence-building measures or agreements? Because now the similar agreement is also up in the air, and the Indus Water Treaty is also India has also backed out of it.
You see, this is probably the most difficult moment in Pakistan-India relations since 1971. And there is a feeling that it's a new scenario because India has already said that it's holding the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. And in response, Pakistan said we are holding the similar agreement in abeyance, although an abeyance is a very interesting English term because it doesn't mean it's been suspended. It doesn't mean it's been abrogated, but it's just been on hold as if it's not applicable for the time being. I think that once the situation is diffused, there should be a dialogue at two levels. One is the military level between the Directors General of Military Operations and the National Security Advisors of both countries on the military situation. The other one would be political, dealing primarily with the Indus Waters Treaty. And if India has concerns on terrorism, we have concerns on Indian state terrorism. And we have concerns on Indian human rights violation in Kashmir. So that kind of dialogue can be initiated, provided there's an honest broker among any international system. But I think more importantly, I think I would look at a permanent solution. Perhaps there should be certain rules of the game, because this can't happen every few years. If something happens and suddenly you blame Pakistan. I would say there should be a sustained dialogue between the two intelligence organizations also. The RAW of India, Research and Analysis Wing, and the Inter-Services Intelligence of Pakistan. Let the two organizations discuss. Because I feel that Pakistan, what it is accused of by India is wrong. What India says about Pakistan, Pakistan is not involved in any cross-border activity inside either Indian-occupied Kashmir or in India. And while India has been involved in cross-border terrorism against Pakistan, as documented by The Guardian and the Washington Post, that in 4 years they had 20 assassinations plotted, planned, and executed on Pakistani territory. And certain rules of the game have to be there before we can talk of a normal relationship. Because right now it's an abnormal relationship. There's a dialogue of the deaf. We're not even talking to each other. We are only talking at each other, shooting at each other, shouting at each other. So I think this abnormal situation must come to an end, and with the restoration of ambassadors, and then we can talk of other steps as and when the situation arises incrementally. But diffusion is there because we can't wish each other away. We are neighbors, and we are bound together inextricably through the dictates of geography as well as history. So I think that there should be a very mature and measured and a level-headed view of the whole thing. In my view, the main problem is that the regime in India, led by Mr. Modi, has an ideological foreign policy based on RSS, which Arundhati Roy termed in an article in the New York Times as that in today's India, RSS is the state. So that is a problem. But on our side, we do not have an ideological approach in our system, whether it's the armed forces or the parliament or the government, all the political forces. There's a consensus that there should not be a confrontation with India, and that we should have try to seek better and normal relations with India. And whether it's cricket or culture or even commerce eventually. But of course, all these will have to be step-by-step initiatives.
Absolutely. We can't change where we are. We can't change our geography. And we can't change our neighbors. We might as well learn to live with them. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Good luck in Dawn English News. Thank you.